Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to go again with the second half of this lecture. Um, so these are essentially the basic directions. I told you it's very complicated, and we've talked about all the mechanics of it and all the reactions. So what you're going to need is a 100 milliliter round bottom flask, and we're going to put a hose on top of the condenser this time. We're going to hook that hose into. It says put it under a fume hood. Well, we can't all get under a fume hood, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a little trap. We've never done this before, but we'll run that hose into one of your plastic funnels. Get a plastic funnel that'll fit into the hose. Then what we'll do is have a beaker of sodium hydroxide, and you'll have to probably clamp that in a ring so it doesn't tip over. Because what you're going to do is suspend the um, funnel into that, and then the HCl gas that's produced will bubble into that trap water, making just salt water, and we won't smell that. All right. Anyway, well, you're going to take 30 millimoles of toluic acid and put a stir bar in the 100 milliliter round bottom flask. Then under the hood, you must put in the 2.6 milliliters of thionyl chloride. Reattach flask to the condenser. We're going to stir for just 20 minutes this time. Cool in an ice water bath. Now, while it's cooling in the ice water bath is the time to go make your amine. This first section is going to make the acid chloride. So this will be the acid chloride portion of the program, and this will be the amine portion of the program. So what you're going to do is take diethylamine hydrochloride, which is the salt of an amine, you can imagine. You're going to mix that with sodium hydroxide, and then you're going to add to it, and do this slowly, this diethylamine hydrochloride. Once again, do that under the hood. I don't want to go too fast here, but and then you're going to add the soap, the sodium lauryl cerbate, and you don't need very much of it. You may see some foaming at that point when you do so. And then you're going to transfer that separatory funnel and add a little bit of water to make sure that everything got transferred. You're going to reattach that to the addition system. And so you've left that first mixture in the ice water bath. So hopefully you got a way to get rid of at that point your heat element, and you're going to have something to prop up under there. We have a few lab jacks. We don't have very many, but if that won't work, you can always set up like a little beaker system or a book system to prop that beaker up so it'll reach. You could probably trust your keg clamp, but you want to make sure that keg clamp is a good one. You probably could, but I would put something under to support it. So then you're going to add the diethylamine solution over about a 5-minute period because it'll get warm again. Test it with pH paper. If the pH is not above 10, add more NaOH until it is. Then once it's all in, now you're going to have to slip the boiling water bath back in there again. Check for the pH after about 15 minutes. Cool it to room temp. Now put all that mess back into the separatory funnel, and you're going to extract it 3 times with diethyl ether. This time, diethyl ether much less dense than the rest of this solution. So you're going to want to keep and combine the top 3. So once you take off one, put it aside, keep that beaker, and put the watch glass over it because ether very volatile. So you may not end up with anything. It may boil away or it may evaporate away on you. Then you combine those extracts and wash them with 1 molar HCl. Once again, your good stuff will still be on top. And then after you've extracted that, then do it with saturated sodium chloride. This is to neutralize any NaOH that's left over. And this is just to make our 2 layers, to make our ionic layer, very polar layer, polar, and our nonpolar layer, essentially more nonpolar. A good old dry with magnesium sulfate, and make sure you remove the drying agent before you go to the next step. Evaporate the ether. Ether is very volatile. You could probably use a hose with air, or you could gently warm it. Do remember that ether is flammable, and pretty noxious in the sense that it was the original anesthetic. And we're gonna put that in a flask, cap it, and I think what we're going to try to do is I think we're going to try to store that and then uh, go with it the following week. But before you go on this, and I didn't put this on there, before you go, I would go ahead and take off a tiny bit, and we're going to run the crude. Technically, what we're going to do the following week is run it through the uh, column chromatography again to try to purify it. And if we had as bad as luck as we had with the tomato paste, you may not have any DEET by the time you're finished. But we'll go ahead and run an IR of the crude DEET. Technically, the column chromatography should purify it more. Uh, we'll go ahead and try to give it a shot again, just to see if we can make it work. Uh, what we may end up doing is having to reduce once again the number of labs that we do, which I guess that's okay since we'll have 2 weeks on this, 2 weeks on this. The thing was, I was looking for another one to add anyway. I think we're going to make ourselves end up being in good shape anyway, so we'll plan it that way. All right, we'll see you on Thursday and be ready to do this multi-step procedure to produce the insect repellent DEET. Thanks again.